Paralegal versus lawyer. Who should be fighting your ticket? This is an important question to be asking. One of the first things you ought to be aware of is the distinction between a lawyer and a paralegal. Let's first discuss what a lawyer is and why they exist. Lawyers are trained in a variety of areas of law. They go to school for 3 years, which is the equivalent of an undergraduate degree. In those 3 years, they are exposed to multiple areas of law in a very loose way. So they get exposed to the history of the law in that particular area and things like corporate law or tax law or things like that. And it's a very, very wide scope of what they're going to be exposed to as a lawyer. It's important to keep that in mind as you now turn the page towards what a paralegal is. A paralegal is also well-educated, generally not as long as 3 years. However, you need to be aware that the scope of the education is very focused on what exactly a paralegal will be doing for you. So there is a very intense focus on what a paralegal is educated in and what they will be dealing with. When you're looking for a paralegal or lawyer to help you, turning the page back to what a lawyer may be doing. If you were to consider retaining a lawyer to deal with a highway traffic matter, you would be presenting a case which is one that they're not going to see every day. They're going to see maybe once in a while. So what that lawyer would be obligated to do would be to do the research from the ground up. That takes time. That is not something they're going to do every day, and it's certainly not something that's readily available in a file someplace, or that another member of their staff is going to be able to inform them on. So there's quite a bit of work in getting up to speed on what the current law is. The next thing that particular lawyer would have to do would be to figure out where this court is. Usually the case is that they're not going to that court every day. They do not know who the people are. And unfortunately, when that happens, they're not efficient. And when they're not efficient, the potential client is paying for that inefficiency. So they have to learn things kind of from the ground up, whether it be the law or be in that courtroom. And it can be problematic in only this regard. It usually means it's more expense for that particular client. When you deal with a paralegal, their focus has been that particular courtroom. And in many of these cases, that particular charge, the intensity of what they do, and because they're doing it on a daily basis, they already have the law in hand. They know what happened in the law or at the Supreme Court of Canada the day before in real time. So they're not redoing anything. That's a very exciting way to practice because they know all the most recent changes and what's going on. Further, that paralegal, because of that focus, they're going to that court. They know the people in that particular courtroom. They see them every day. They've developed professional relationships with them, sometimes friendships, and they've also developed a respect. That court, that prosecutor, they know that particular practitioner. That particular paralegal is well known. And what I believe is it puts a client in that situation in a position of particular advantage for that reason that they know you, they know how you advocate, they already know that you are a successful advocate. They've seen you do that every day. And in addition to that, you are the benefactor of someone who has real-time knowledge of what the law actually is at that moment. The net of all of that is that service is provided and in a very efficient way to your pocketbook. It is far cheaper to engage a paralegal than a lawyer. Significantly different than a lawyer. A lawyer is going to charge very expensive fees. I'm not going to comment on whether it's worth it or not. And many of these lawyers are my friends and colleagues. And I would hire lawyers in specific situations too, the right person for the job. But I would simply advocate in a highway traffic setting, careless driving, speeding tickets, bodily harm situation when careless is involved. These are the type of things that you want somebody who's very experienced, very in tune with what's going on day to day, so that you can get the most help in the most efficient way, saving your money and being successful just seems to be the right answer for me.